So, how many of you know someone who is affected by a mental health problem? Well, if you didn't raise your hand, then you can now because you know someone who's affected by mental health. Me. So I have depressive anxiety and irregular mood disorders, which affects my life every day. And in the beginning of October, I was hospitalized for about 3 months. Okay. And since coming home in January, I've had a lot of time to reflect on my experience and how mental health is looked at and how much of a stigma goes along with it. So for my main project, I really wanted to focus on mental health awareness. So it all started in March when, I created an educational slideshow to show to the high school, everyone in the high school and the faculty, and it's pretty much just a picture of the first slide. And I also created one to show to the middle school as well, which had like facts and, there it was. And some things like myth and facts that went through some common mental health misconceptions. And this is the one that I showed. This was like an example of a slide that I showed to the middle school, the 5th through 8th graders. And so after I did that, I decided to have an open mic where people could share their stories, whether personal or about a family member or friend who was affected by mental health, or just to come and listen and participate. And here's the other part of the flyer. And we had a really great conversation. Some people shared their stories, and then we had a discussion about how great the Hudson School has been with helping people with being like flexible and really understanding and making the experience for people who struggle with mental health a lot better. So that was a really cool experience. So the next thing I did was create a blog because I wanted to discuss some of the issues that I found in some mental hospitals and my ideas of how the facilities could be improved. So, first I went to a NAMI walk, which is the National Alliance of Mental Illnesses, which is where I got like all these flyers. And it was really amazing to see all the support that was out there. And we walked across the Brooklyn Bridge and back, and it was really fun. And then, so one of my opinion pieces was about the hospital experience and how there are different types of people who are admitted to a mental hospital, and how I think that for people to get the most out of their experiences, there should be different classifications because different people need help with different things and need to be restricted in different areas and let to have freedom in different areas. So that was something that was really important to me. I also talked about how there really is no place for some adolescent to go for the night or for a couple days that isn't a hospital. There's places for LGBTQ youth, which is amazing, and there's places for kids suffering from like abuse, which is also amazing, but there's really very limited resources for kids who have mental health problems, and you just don't need to go to the hospital, but just need to leave the house for a while. And so that was also something that I think is really important to have. And I also talked about increasing awareness, which I'll talk about a little bit later. So, and I had a really amazing interview with a Hoboken police officer who's here today about their crisis intervention training, which is pretty much how the Hoboken police force and other people are trained how to deal with people who have mental illnesses, and sort of like just like training in how to help them, how to approach them, how to talk to them. And it was a really, really interesting. I have a copy of the interview when I need to pause because I just thought it was like everyone needs to know about this. This is so cool. It was really great. So the next thing I did was I wanted to set up an information library for the school. So I got together some flyers and some books which are on their way, and I'm going to give them to Miss Mosley, and she's going to figure out the best place for them so that parents and teens and teachers can borrow the books or make copies from the books or look through the pamphlets, just so that there's some more resources within the school for people when it comes to mental health. All right. So the last thing I did was really a long-term goal for me. I started writing a children's book series about things like depression, having OCD, anxiety, going to therapy. And this is just an example of the story. I have the story right here, actually, like the type. But it's just really important to me that young kids know that it's okay to have these feelings and it's okay to ask for help and to not feel kind of like they're different or maybe that they're alone. So I really enjoy working on this project. I didn't really realize until I started how passionate I was about mental health awareness and how much I really want to work to break down the stigma. So I faced a couple of challenges during my project. The first one was during my presentation. I did it, the educational presentation, I did it about 6 times. So that really helped me improve on my public speaking skills. And then with the blog, I think it really helped me gain confidence in sharing my opinions and ideas and not feeling like they were going to be judged or like I couldn't share how I was really feeling. The next challenge that I faced was creating this library, because it's really important to me that once I graduate, that people respect it, I guess, and use it in the right way. And so I really had to have trust in just that, people would treat it with respect and access it and not abuse it or anything like that. And the last challenge came with working on this book, because it's a really long-term goal for me, and I have a hard time thinking that I can achieve long-term goals. So it was a really good first step in starting something and knowing that it's okay, even if it takes a very long time for it to actually happen. So, yeah, and these quotes are actually from a song that I wrote while I was in the hospital, because that just had a really meaningful point to me. But, oh yeah, and the last thing I wanted to mention was that mental health, for me at least, my journey with mental health doesn't just end when you leave the hospital. It doesn't just end when I graduate or when I'm done with my May project. It's something that, I'm going to always struggle with and always have, and it's going to be something that I'm always going to feel passionate about and always want to work to improve. So I think I learned that the mental health community is one that I really feel that I can make a difference in and I'm really passionate about, and one that is definitely going to stick with me for the rest of my life. Any questions? Yeah?
So you've been talking for the last half of the year with a lot of people about their preconceptions, and they've been talking to you back. And do you have, can you think of an example of somebody that you think you really changed their mind and given them some new thoughts?
My mom's just pointing at my dad. Well, to be honest, not to point you out, but for someone like my dad, who, when I was growing up, didn't really know how to react to the whole, oh my God, like, my friends aren't texting me back, like, oh, like, they don't like me, like, this whole anxiety, and not knowing whether this was, like, normal behavior for a middle schooler, or if that was kind of, like, a little different. And then definitely this year, like, becoming, like, super supportive, especially when we did experience what it's like to go to a hospital, what it's like to be in the emergency room, and how that experience is. It really changes how you view, and when you meet people, it really changes how you view people who deal with mental health, and also the people who work to help kids with mental health in the programs. So to use my dad as an example, because he's been with me the whole way, definitely, like, there's been so much more, like, acceptance since I started, like, I guess, being more open with what's going on for me and ways that I want to, like, affect change in other people. Yeah.
So I don't know, it kind of ties into things with family and that, because my brother, who's about 9 years older than me, has struggled with mental health struggles for kind of, well, at least since I was 13, so it goes back a ways. And you know, he's doing great. He'll be here at your graduation, Avery's graduation, and for me as a 13-year-old, and I know your brother's sort of around that age, but it was an older day when there was probably more stigma or less known, or you didn't think about it as much. And I'm wondering if you've thought about also that it's important to just educate people on that if they're recognizing feelings in themselves, that it's okay and there's ways to help this, but also educating family members and friends. I know NAMI, I mean, my parents belonged to NAMI for a long time, and there's a lot of groups that just work together and kind of give you that, hey, it's not just you, so both to the people struggling and to people who, the loved ones.
Yeah, that's like so important. That's like what I really like want to be able to help with, because when I was younger, I didn't think anything was going on that was like different for me. I was in my own brain. I was like, this is just how the world works, and that's what I thought. And I wish that I could have, I don't know, like read a story or just like read something about what it's like to have anxiety or what it's like to go through different mental health problems, because the earlier that you begin to work with things, then the easier and the faster that you're going to work on ways to cope and to overcome challenges. And definitely for family members as well, which is why I really hope that some of this like little mini library is like accessed throughout the school, so that if parents or students have questions or anything, that they have the resources available to even just get like a basic understanding of what might be going on. Because once you like know that, you can go anywhere, you know, the internet, and with like more people to talk to. So I think that's really important. Yeah.
Okay, so you make me so happy. Like this whole thing makes me so happy, because to see how like I feel like you switch the reins, right? Like this is not easy. Like I haven't been able to relate to anyone, and like we've definitely gotten a lot closer. And it's like it's a different community, and it's easier to talk to people who you know that they've been through it. And I'm like really excited for you, because to see that you've like switched the reins, like you've taken control of it, like I'm so sure it's not any easier. Like it takes a really long time for it to get easier, but you've already made like an impact on me, and to see that you're making this like progress, I'm so excited for you, and that makes me so happy.
That's so nice to hear. Because yeah, like I don't know, I mean yeah, it's like every day, it's just like, oh, just because, like I was saying, this is over, like still there's hard days, there are great days, and yeah.
It's gonna be like a constant struggle, but
yeah.
I love how like, I don't know, and just to see that you up here, like even though you have to be here, like you didn't have to present like during like assemblies and stuff, like you made that choice, like put yourself in control, and I think that's so admirable, because like I've had situations like it's so hard for me to do that, and like to see that you're here like talking to us about it, like telling me about something like I know about, but you're still like helping me, so I can see that it's gonna be like a really good success.
Thank you.
Yeah. Meryl, are there one or two things that you might be able to share with us about what you think people's misconceptions are about mental
Yeah.
illness?
I definitely think, in my opinion, a lot of people think that mental health is sort of like not really an illness. Like often, like I compare it to someone breaking their arm and going to the hospital, and someone needing to go to the hospital because of depression. So often, it's beginning to change, but often the family with the child who has broken their arm, they get all this like cards and food and support and oh, how is this person doing? And while the other child, it's sort of like we don't know how to talk about it because it's not always viewed as the same as a physical illness, and yet there's so many similarities. Nobody wants to break their arm, nobody wants to be struggling with depression. Both families are struggling because they have maybe a child or a loved one who is away from home. And honestly, both physical illnesses and mental illnesses, I believe, can be terminal. And I think that's something that not a lot of people see. But I really do believe that just like there are diseases that can physically attack the body, I think that mental health as well, it can end someone's life as well, which I think is really important. Yeah?
I was wondering if you can share a little bit more with the interview. What did you learn
Yeah.
moving forward?
Yeah, so I was going to this coffee with a cop with my dad, and I was just really interested in what the police force was doing because I had sort of had some encounters with officers at my house, and I was also just curious. And I spoke with their chief of police, and he told me about this crisis intervention program, and then I set up an interview, and pretty much I interviewed Mr. Brink, and he went to the training about a year ago, and pretty much it just sounded like I want to go. Like it just sounded amazing. I think he was telling me you do like actual demonstrations and practices. You meet with like shelters and other people, like crisis intervention workers, and all these people who are also part of the process if someone's taken to a hospital. And just really like it was a week long, I think, and just like learning how to react with someone who maybe isn't like dangerous and who maybe I don't know, just like where they fall in this very wide spectrum, especially being a police officer, having to be prepared for so much. Just the fact that mental health is on that kind of spectrum of awareness was a surprise to me and something that I think is really amazing. So it was just, I have a copy of the interview because I feel like I can't sum it up like in words what I learned from talking with him.
First, I want to say I think it's amazing how courageous you are, and it's so nice to see you smiling. Did you ever think of getting like a guardian for the, or a librarian for the once you're, and would you be willing to come back to Hudson and talk to people?
Yeah, I think I'm gonna leave these in the hands of like Mr. Baker and Miss Mosley, because they've told me that they're gonna they're gonna take care of them, and I definitely would want to come back to Hudson just to speak to the faculty again, or to speak to new grades that come in, or just to make sure that they have like enough copies of the flyers and stuff, because I would be more than happy to refill everything, see like getting more books, all that stuff. I set up a GoFundMe and it helped me a lot to raise money for the books, so it wasn't a problem. So yeah, definitely the Hudson School is a place. And I think it's also very open to, yeah.
Just wanted to echo, I guess, a question that was brought up about the importance of mental health awareness. That's what your project is. My own personal experience, going back a number of months, is based on movies and TV where someone's going through a certain panic attack. And what do? You throw water on the face or you slap in the face. You don't do that, first of all.
Okay.
The other thing is medication. Unaware that there are so many medications out there. The media portrays mental health as lithium and you become a zombie, which is, of course, not the case. And the third personal thing for myself is I didn't use the word hospital talking about mental health facility. I kept using the word facility, the place, the institution. So in terms of bringing mental health awareness into the general population in general layman's terms, I think it is a great goal that you have set for yourself, to educate even your dad.
Yeah.
Who's going through this very process.
Yeah, it's really important to me. That's why I really want to educate younger kids, because I feel like the sooner that you start teaching someone about something, the sooner that it like just becomes part of their life. Like, just a story which is about medication. We were watching Family Feud in one of the hospitals as I was at, and they were talking about medications you'd be embarrassed to share. And one of the second answers was like Prozac, and everyone in the room was like, "What? I take that!" And it was an older episode, kind of just like, no way, like I'm not embarrassed about that.
What was the number one?
Oh, I think it was like, I can't remember.
That's why I asked the question.
Yeah.
Right, Howard?
Meryl, do you think you're gonna keep writing stories?
Yeah, this is the first of hopefully more to come about
Can we
different
take a
topics.
copy home?
Yeah, of course, I would love. I have like 15 copies. Please take a copy. Yeah.